We're seeing a lot of people who have way too much risk in their portfolios. It's always about accumulation. What they're missing is it's really about income, being
Yeah.
able to pay my bills. So if I have $1 million today and it's gone down 30% tomorrow, that's not going to be real helpful to my income.
And welcome into Protect and Grow Chicagoland Retirement with Chicagoland's certified financial planning professional, Tim Stearns, CFP, founder, CEO, and advisor there at TJ Stearns, Inc. Tim is here with us helping you to plan for your financial, investment, and retirement future. TJ Stearns is the home of the Protect and Grow written retirement blueprint. And as you normally do, Tim, going to start the program off with your financial tip of the week. What do you have for us?
Well, Peter, what I'm talking to people about right now is smart people learn from their mistakes, but in their own mistakes. But in retirement, we don't have that luxury. We don't have that time.
Hmm. Yeah, hard to undo those mistakes when you make them yourself in retirement. I mean, one simple mistake, Tim, can determine your trajectory. And retirement's not really about perfection, but it is about avoiding the preventable mistakes, right?
Well, to that point, we're seeing a lot of people who have way too much risk in their portfolios. It's always about accumulation. What they're missing is it's really about income, being
Yeah.
able to pay my bills. So if I have $1 million today and it's gone down 30% tomorrow, that's not going to be real helpful to my income.
No. And that's why you are such a proponent for that Protect and Grow written
Yep.
retirement blueprint, part of it being income planning. That is the main foundation of support. That's what provides the stability. And then the growth aspect of the plan, as aggressive or conservative as we want to be and are comfortable
Sure.
with, once the income planning is satisfied, right? Because Tim, we got to have a plan to replace ourselves as the paycheck earner.
That's correct. And how are you going to do that? But this comes down to the bottom line is we need to make sure we don't make mistakes, and that's why today I want to talk about the different mistakes that we're seeing people are making in retirement.
Yeah. And number one on the list, Tim, thinking that retirement is the finish line, that it's just about stopping work.
Right. Sitting out on the back porch with, a fan on and just watching TV is not how it's going to look. Your income is going to change dramatically, and your time structure absolutely disappears. So the things that we're talking to people about is making sure that these financial decisions are going to become permanent. Most people don't have a pension. And so any amount of money that they have at the end of the day is what they have for retirement, a finite amount.
Yeah. And retirement really is a transition, not an ending to anything. Tim, I'm a big proponent that I think that we human nature innately need a purpose to strive for, something that keeps us motivated, or we tend to rust and atrophy pretty quickly.
Right. And to that point is, it's a new phase equals a new strategy. So, get engaged with that. Obviously when we're doing this with people, we're doing it ahead of time, but we're always still checking our math as they go into their first year, especially.
And that new strategy, Tim, circling back to your tip of the week, mistake number two, not having a clear income plan to provide you financial support and lasting confidence.
We just met with people last week that they were saying, yeah, I might take my Social Security here. That I'm not positive about hers, that type of thing. At the end of the day, you have to have a clear income plan. What I always tell people is you get one shot at a great retirement,
Yeah.
and you need to make sure that you're, measuring twice, maybe three times, and cutting once.
And this generation, Tim, has had access to the 401k and the market and investments. Basically their entire working career has built and amassed more personal net worth. And yet the question still remains, how do I know I'm not going to run out in retirement? Have I saved enough? And I think that revolves around this issue and this mistake of not having an income plan, a specific Protect and Grow written retirement blueprint for income, because the portfolio value does not equate or equal the paycheck.
Right. And then the other thing they're not putting into there is that they have to pay taxes on this money. It's a whole different ball of wax. So going into there without a clear income plan is obviously going to be a problem.
Mistake number three, Tim, staying too aggressive for too long. I know that there's a time and a place for having aggressive positions aimed for growth, but there's also a reason to have the other side of the spectrum. And your plan, I think, that you put together for people very appropriately named the Protect and Grow Written Retirement Blueprint.
Right. So what you're talking about is market losses early in retirement are extremely harmful. And what we call that is sequence of returns risk. And I marvel at, we taught a class the other night, and the amount of people, they're all baby boomers that don't even understand what that process is. And basically, if the market drops 30% when you're first into retirement, your withdrawals are going to magnify those losses.
Mm.
And the recovery time is limited because you're not adding money back into it like you were when you were working.
Yep. And the bill collectors are not going to call and say, "Oh, we understand the market's down, so we're going to cut your bill by 30% to match that," right?
Right.
It doesn't
Especially
happen.
around us. And the big thing that we're running into is people around here are concerned about property taxes.
Mhm.
They just keep going up and up and up. And if you have a market, you're a portfolio that's taking too much risk, and then you have a market that doesn't cooperate, it can just, magnify all those things.
Well, they say don't sell when the market is down, but when you've got bills and you're creating income from your investments, you can't help it, right? You have to sell, you got to liquidate the positions at a loss, and then those dollars aren't in the portfolio. They did not remain invested to participate in whenever that ensuing recovery does eventually happen. So again, compounding and magnifying the losses are the withdrawals that we take on top of them. And you named it appropriately there, Tim. You have a specific term for this that a lot of people don't know and don't understand, and that's mistake number 4: ignoring sequence of returns risk.
Well, to your point, withdrawals lock in the losses, and your risk exposure isn't managed whatsoever. And the next thing you know, you have to figure out, how you're going to make up that money, and that's really hard to do.
And I think a lot of people base their expectations on averages that the market has achieved over time. Well, averages don't matter. It's literally the timing of when the returns occur, right, Tim?
Right. It's all about, if you're on the ride there, the best time to sell would be in the market's going up. Right now, we have the market at an all-time high. I worry for people that are counting on the tech stocks to take them home.
Yeah. Mistake number 5, Tim. This is part of that income plan. You've touched on it already, but not enough people really focus in on making sure they're not making a poor Social Security timing decision. 40% of Americans rely on Social Security. That's a big part of the retirement income plan for everybody. So why not dedicate a little bit more time to understanding and making an optimal decision on Social Security?
Right. I love on their website, they say it only takes 15 minutes to make your decision. You're taking your top 35 years and you're only going to put into 15 minutes into thinking about that. That's crazy.
Yeah, I
And
was going to say it took 35 years to build up to be eligible for that benefit. Maybe 15 minutes isn't a sufficient time to dedicate to making sure you get the most out of it.
and the one thing I always tell people is we have great software that we can run some numbers and figure that out, what that looks like.
Tim, another aspect in planning too often overlooked, especially since we have built up over our careers these large tax deferred retirement balances, under planning, under preparing, underestimating the taxes that we will owe.
Right. We had a client who said, she wanted $20,000 the other day. I said, okay, no problem. What do you want to withhold for taxes? And her quote was, I don't want to pay taxes. And I laughed. I said, no one does.
Yeah.
But the money that you have saved up your entire careers, and we see this with all the baby boomers, is their biggest asset besides their house. That being said, you need to realize that all those dollars, the IRS has a plan for them as much as you do.
Yeah, and Tim, you've mentioned many times on the program that most people within a small degree of error fairly accurately can tell you how much they have in those retirement accounts, but very few people have any idea how much they will owe on taxes on those accounts. That's why you've built that website, mvpcfp.com.
Yep. It's great. The analogy I like to give at our classes is, if I walked up to you on the street and I said, how much money do you have in 401k? They can probably tell you within a couple $1,000s. But if I ask them over your lifetime in retirement, what will you be paying in retirement taxes as well as your family? They have no clue. And so we built that website specifically for that. They can put their information in. We'll give them a great report that does that for them.
Again, that is mvpcfp.com, mvpcfp.com. It is your retirement tax bill calculator. You get to play with the numbers and the assumptions. What's the rate of growth? What's the tax rate? What's your balance? Put it in there and you can see side by side, what's the IRS's plan to collect as much tax as possible? And then are there strategies, and typically there are, pretty significant realization of savings if you enact them, to reduce that tax bill, to control that tax bill, to keep more of your money and minimize what you pay to the IRS? And those are the strategies that Tim Stearns, CFP, and his team there at TJ Stearns Inc. help to design and implement through the Protect and Grow Written Retirement Blueprint. The Protect and Grow Written Retirement Blueprint, again, available only there at TJ Stearns Inc. And if you'd like to get your own custom, specific, individual Protect and Grow plan, pick up the phone and give a call, 800-640-2256. That is 800-640-2256, 800-640-2256, or online at tjstearns.com, tjstearns.com. Tim, another area that people underestimate, have no plan for, healthcare expenses, long-term care expenses. A lot of people think that past the age of 65, these things are free.
Right. And Medicare, what we look at is that you're seeing on average, a married couple over their lifetime in Medicare will spend over $350,000.
Mm.
That's one thing. The second thing that we're seeing here is that 7 out of 10 Americans are going to need long-term care, and 9 out of 10 of them have not addressed it. And that can be really terrible for it can kill a retirement. If one of you has dementia, we had a person in the other day, their dad had dementia for 9 years. He needed care. And imagine you can't insure for that, so you need to somehow figure out you're going to pay for that. And, long-term care, the hybrids that we've talked about, the life insurance is how we look at doing that. You can self-insure for some of it, but not all of it.
Tim, mistake number 8, overlooking, forgetting, ignoring, thinking we're going to live forever and therefore not addressing our legal and legacy planning.
Well, so I'll tell you a story, Peter. Someone who called into our radio show, and I met with him, and he kept talking about how him and Mary were going to do this and him and Mary were going to do that. And I said, well, who's Judy? As I was looking over his paperwork, and he had not updated his estate planning.
Yeah,
and so his
his face turned white.
Yes. And his ex-wife would have inherited most of the money. So 6 out of 10 Americans have done their proper estate planning. So we tell people within every 5 years, you should be looking into that.
Such an important aspect in planning. Yep. And Tim, integrating the planning. These are codependent elements of your plan. They must be integrated and cohesive. Tax planning, financial planning, investment management, legal planning, all are part of that Protect and Grow Written Retirement Blueprint. And Tim, people sometimes just wait too long to make adjustments. And I know that's a big mistake that you see as well.
That's exactly it. And, trying to do it all alone, it's a daunting task. Yeah. So we are always telling people, we'll help you with some of it or all of it. But, you got to start somewhere. We had a woman who it was a referral from one of our best clients, and the woman didn't call for 2 years. And she finally came in, and I said, what took you so long? And she said, I thought you were going to tell me I couldn't retire, and I didn't even know where to start. And so we will, lead the person through the process and get it done right.
Well, as you started with, Tim, in your tip of the week, smart people learn from their own mistakes, but appropriately, as you put it, we do not have that luxury in retirement. A small mistake can change the trajectory of our lasting financial confidence. And retirement success is not about perfection, but it is about avoiding those preventable mistakes. And that's why you do need a guide, someone who's been there, done that, seen it many, many times, has seen what worked, and has been able to spot and help people identify oversights, things that have not been addressed, or potential risks and mistakes. Retirement success is built on avoiding those, and that's why Tim Stearns, CFP, and his team put together that Protect and Grow Written Retirement Blueprint. Ladies and gentlemen, pick up the phone. Get your specific customized plan put together, individual to you with your goals in mind, diversified strategies for how to achieve them, long-term vision for the recommendations, and then a experienced, qualified professional, a certified financial planning professional along the ride with you, helping you to continue to adapt and monitor and implement the plan along the way. That's what you get when you give a call to TJ Stearns Inc. and Tim Stearns CFP. 800-640-2256. That is 800-640-2256, 800-640-2256, or online, tjstearns.com, tjstearns.com. Tim, it is always a pleasure having you here on the program. Thank you for reminding us to remember to pay attention and address these common financial and avoidable mistakes.
Tune into Chicagoland certified financial planner Tim Stearns' full radio program and visit tjstearns.com for many valuable resources, including other great episodes of Chicagoland Retirement. Be sure to subscribe.
Investment advisory services offered through Cornerstone Securities, LLC. The information presented on this program is provided for informational purposes only without warranty of accuracy, completeness, or suitability for a particular purpose. This program is not intended to be and does not constitute financial, investment, legal, or tax advice. This information is general in nature, not specific enough to be construed as advice. You should not make any decision based on the information presented on this program without independent consultation with an appropriately licensed professional or competent advisor. Investment in securities or the market involves a potential risk for loss of principal. Trading, therefore, may not be suitable for all listeners. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Withdrawals or growth from annuities may be taxable as ordinary income in the year it is taken. Individuals should review contracts for specific details of the product's features and costs.